Tonight, we examine a single journey, one train ride, 47 minutes that changed everything. Singapore's MRT system is one of the most modern in the world. Clean, efficient, safe, over 3 million passengers daily. But after midnight, when the last trains make their final runs, the atmosphere changes. The platforms fall silent. In Chinese funeral tradition, white is the color of death and mourning. But there is another belief, older and less discussed. When someone dies violently or far from home, their spirit wears white forever, searching for the way back, unable to rest. This is the documented account of Rachel Tan, age 27, marketing executive, rational, practical. What she experienced on October 23rd, 2019, was reported to transit police and documented by hospital staff at Singapore General Hospital. The evidence exists. The questions remain. The platform at Pasir Ris Station stretched empty. Rachel Tan stood alone near the yellow safety line. Her phone showed 12:47 a.m. She had fallen asleep after a company dinner, woke up at the terminus with everyone else already gone. Now she waited for the last train heading west, back home to Red Hill. The digital display showed 2 minutes until arrival. Then she heard footsteps coming from the far end of the platform. She looked up. A woman walked toward her from the direction of the exit gates. Those gates were locked. Rachel had watched the station staff secure them 30 minutes ago. There was no other way down. But here was this woman. She wore white, a long white dress, old-fashioned cut, high collar, long sleeves. Her hair hung long and straight, completely covering her face. She walked with perfect posture, each step identical to the last. Click, click, click. Rachel's throat tightened. The way the woman moved was wrong. Too smooth, too regular. The distance closed. Rachel smelled jasmine, strong and overwhelming, the specific variety used at Chinese funerals. The smell had clung to her clothes for days after her grandmother's wake. The woman in white walked past without acknowledging Rachel's presence, never adjusting her path. Her hair never parted to reveal what lay beneath. The train's headlights appeared. Rachel exhaled, not realizing she'd been holding her breath. She glanced toward the far end. The woman in white stood at the edge of the platform, facing the tracks, perfectly still. The train emerged from the tunnel. The doors opened. Rachel stepped inside the empty carriage and turned to look back through the window. The woman in white now stood exactly where Rachel had been standing. Rachel's pulse hammered. She had not seen the woman move. She simply appeared there. The doors closed. In that final second, the woman's head tilted slightly, as if deciding. The train lurched forward. Rachel was alone in the carriage. Empty seats stretched in both directions. The jasmine smell lingered. She told herself it was perfume. Rational explanation. The train slowed for Tampines. The doors opened to an empty platform. Nobody waiting. The doors closed. Rachel checked the window and saw her own reflection staring back. Behind it, something else appeared. A figure in white, sitting 3 rows back. Hair covering the face. Hands folded. Perfectly still. Rachel spun around. The carriage was empty. She could see all the way to the far door. Nothing. She turned back to the window. The reflection showed the figure clearly, still sitting. Rachel moved to the next carriage. The woman followed in the reflection, still never in reality, getting closer. The train pulled into Simei. Rachel stood by the doors, ready to get off. The doors opened. She stepped forward. Her foot stopped. A pale hand gripped her ankle, fingers white as bone. The touch was ice cold. Rachel screamed and yanked her leg back. The doors closed. She looked down. No hand, nothing there. But 5 red marks appeared on her ankle, already darkening to purple. The jasmine smell intensified, suffocating. She looked at the window. The woman in white sat directly across from her now, close enough to see details. The woman's head moved slowly, turning toward Rachel's reflection. The black hair parted slightly. Underneath was nothing. Empty space where a face should be. Darkness that absorbed light rather than reflected it. Rachel ran through carriage after carriage. The woman followed, always in the reflection, always closer. The temperature dropped. Her breath misted in the air. The train pulled into Tanah. Rachel burst onto the platform and ran for the exit. Security cameras captured her at 1:03 a.m., running, looking behind her, alone on the platform. She burst into the night air and flagged a taxi. As it pulled away from the station, Rachel looked back. The woman in white stood under the lights, watching. Then she took a step forward, following. When Rachel reached her 5th floor flat in Red Hill, she ran for the lift. The doors opened to an empty car. She pressed 5. As the doors closed, the jasmine smell returned. In the polished metal reflection, the woman in white stood behind her. Rachel threw herself out at the 4th floor and ran up the stairs. She reached her flat, fumbled with her keys, burst inside and locked everything. Chain, deadbolt. She turned on all the lights, checked every room, empty, windows locked, 5th floor. No one could get in. She sat on her sofa, trying to rationalize. Tricks of light, exhaustion. The bruises on her ankle were real, but those could happen anywhere. The jasmine smell filled her apartment. Rachel turned. The woman in white stood in her kitchen, facing her, hands at her sides. Rachel ran to her neighbor's door, pounding until Mrs. Lim answered. The ambulance arrived 40 minutes later. They took her to Singapore General Hospital. Doctors examined the finger-shaped bruises on her ankle. Clear, unexplained. Rachel told them everything. All tests came back normal. No drugs, no mental health indicators. Police pulled security footage from Pasir Ris Station. The cameras showed Rachel standing alone on the platform, looking around, tracking something, but nothing else appeared. Train footage showed Rachel boarding, moving between carriages, running, always alone. But the footage revealed something unexplained. At 12:51 a.m., the temperature in carriage C04 dropped 11 degrees in 40 seconds. Rachel's breath misted for no apparent reason. The climate control showed no malfunction. In a Tanah station, the cameras caught something. For 3 frames, less than 1/10 of a second, a white shape behind Rachel, blurred, indistinct, there and then gone. Transit authorities investigated the history of the East-West line. They found something. October 23rd, 1989, exactly 30 years before Rachel's experience. A woman jumped in front of a train at Pasir Ris Station, 12:47 a.m. The last train heading west. She wore a white dress, traditional funeral attire. She had just lost her husband and chose the anniversary of his death to join him. Her body was recovered, proper rites conducted, but locals say her spirit never left because she died in transit, between stations, between worlds, neither here nor there. After Rachel's incident, more reports came in. A maintenance worker saw a woman in white at 2:30 a.m. A student reported the same figure in the reflection, always the same description, always after midnight, always the last train. Rachel spent 2 days in the hospital and 3 weeks at her parents' home. When she returned to her flat, she had it blessed by a Taoist priest. The jasmine smell never came back. The woman never appeared again, but sometimes late at night, she smells jasmine faint and distant, like someone wearing funeral flowers is standing just outside her door. She never opens it to check. The case remains open, unexplained, documented but unresolved. The bruises were real. The temperature drop was real. The security footage anomaly was real. But the woman in white appeared only in reflections. Only to certain people. Only on certain nights. Locals say if you ride the last train from Pasir Ris, do not look at the reflections in the windows. Do not smell for jasmine. Do not acknowledge anything unusual, because some passengers are looking for company, looking for someone to follow home, looking for release from their eternal journey. And once they choose you, they never forget. Rachel Tan still lives in Singapore. She agreed to share her story on condition of anonymity. The incident is real. The documentation exists. The questions remain. What do you think happened? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, stay safe on the last train.